Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome back. Jamie here today, back at it with another review. And today we're talking about Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now obviously, like I've shown before, I'm a fan of this film and I have been for quite a few years. Let's get into it. The film was released in 1995, 6 years after the last and 6 years after the events of Halloween 5. As you can remember, at the end of Halloween 5, Michael Myers was arrested inside the cell, and then the man in black came and, rescued him, and him and Jamie have been missing ever since, so it's been 6 years. The writer of this film is Daniel Farrens, who was brought into, he did his best job, let's be honest, man, because, well, like we said in Halloween 5, that director just threw stuff into this film and had no idea of, what it even meant. So Daniel had a lot of, plot holes to tie up inside this film, let's just say that. Also, there's two different versions of this film. Most people will be recognisable with a theatrical version. That's what I grew up on. That's what everyone's really seen. But for quite a few years, the producer's cut, that was very, very rare. Until the past few years, they've actually released it. And this is how I watch it. This Italian Blu-ray set that I got, which is pretty sick. You can see each film's there. They've got both cuts of the film, producers and director's cut. So that's the only way I could watch it in England, because they didn't actually release it here. So that's an Italian Blu-ray what actually works. That's the only way I can watch the producer's cut. But yeah, between the two different cuts, if you put them both together like Drum Dums have, there's definitely there's a really good film if you take, the best of both cuts and just put them together. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the theatrical cut, because that's what people have probably seen the most anyway. So the film begins, unlike the rest of them, it begins with Jamie saying, "Please don't hurt me, Michael." And then there's flash cuts of the entire film, 5 seconds, boom, 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 you just load of these quick cuts, which is just, it's telling you the editing style of this film. There's no pumpkin and slow, build up inside the title sequence for this one. It's very different. So the film officially begins with Jamie, the character from the last two. She's grown up a bit now, and she's on a bed being pushed down. And let's just say this straight away, it's not the same actress. It's not Danielle Harris reprising the role, because they wanted to not pay her as much. There's a whole in-depth thing if you want to go and look at it in the documentaries and stuff, but I really wish they brought Danielle Harris back. Nothing against this new girl, but it just would have helped with a connection. But let's be honest, it didn't really matter anyway, because we'll get into, Jamie barely even survives into this film. It's the same situation as the last one with Rachel. But yeah, then this nurse gives the baby to the man in black, and we get a narration by Paul Rudd, and this is Paul Rudd's first actual film, and he's playing Tommy Doyle, the kid from the original 78 film, all grown up. So after the nurse gives the baby to the man in black, she helps Jamie escape, because I guess she's feeling guilty. And then Michael comes after her, and he gets her head and he just spikes it through a fucking thing on the wall, and he just the classic head turn like he always does. But we got to talk about this mask, man. This mask is amazing. It's such an improvement from the last ones. Obviously, number 5, anything's going to be better than that, right? But this mask is so badass. I think this is probably my second favourite mask inside the franchise, Obviously, the original is the best, but this is so, menacing and scary. I love it, man. And also, let's just talk about the new score while we're at it. Obviously, we got the original, Halloween score, but this is more, rock infused. I definitely like it. It's more, you can tell we're inside the 90s now with this soundtrack, let's just say that, but it's definitely more metal, which I think it goes well with the horror film, to be honest, because this is a brutal film, so the soundtrack does go along with it quite well. So we got the Strode house back again, the Myers house. This time, the Strode relatives are living there. We got John Strode, who's the brother of Laurie's dad from the original, and he couldn't sell the house, so they moved in there. We've also got a kid called Danny, and he's having the same visions that Michael supposedly had when he was a kid, and Man in Black is appearing to him and he's trying to tell him to kill for me, Danny. That's what he's telling him. Again, we got Loomis back, but this is Loomis's final film, because unfortunately Donald Pleasance died after this film. But this is a good role for Loomis. He's not as involved as the others, and he's not as physical. He's just really walking about, but he's still good. He's not as crazy as number 5, let's just say that. His first line of the film, there's a radio station talking, he's got it on in the background, and whatever happened to that Loomis guy? I think he died. He's no, not dead, just pretty much retired. It's a really good line. And also the radio mentions Michael being sent to space. We never actually saw that, but can you imagine Michael Myers going to space? We've seen Jason, we've seen Leprechaun, we've seen Hellraiser. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that one. So we get introduced to Wynn, who is a character from the first film. If you remember in the 78 film, when Loomis finds out that Michael's escaped, and he's well, who taught him how to drive? Wynn's inside that scene, and he's back for this film. And we'll get more into Wynn later, but he wants Loomis to come work at Smith's Grove again. And then, of course, Loomis hears Jamie on the radio asking for help before she drops the baby off, because Michael's after her. So Michael's chasing Jamie and they finally get to a barn and he kills her. He puts her through this machine and he turns it on and it just impales her. And she's like, you can't have the baby, Michael. And then Jamie's dead. Now inside the producer's cut, she lives a little bit longer than this, but she ends up just getting shot inside the head inside the hospital. So this death's definitely a lot better. It's more graphic and, you know, at least she goes out in style instead of just being shot inside the head when she's asleep, because that's just a shit way to go with that. A cool moment though, Jamie's on the thing, she's like holding her hands out for like Michael to give her a hug, and Michael like sort of goes in first, but then he just pushes her into it more and turns the machine on. It's pretty brutal, man. It's really, there's no crying Michael inside this film, let's just say that. Then we're introduced to one of the dickheads of the film, like I said, John Strode moved his family into the Strode house because his brother couldn't sell it. And his first line he's got the axe, he's like, enough of this Michael Myers bullshit, while he's cutting down these Halloween signs. This guy's a major dick, but you know, that's good because when he dies you actually care, you want him to die, and boy does he die, man. But we'll get to his death later on. I gotta say, the atmosphere built up beside this film, it very much matches the original. Like the autumn time with the Halloween feels, and even looks like it's filmed inside the same location. I think this is probably does the best, like out of all of them, to capture, you know, the atmosphere of the first one, no doubt about it, man. So we got John, like I mentioned, his wife's named Deborah, and then obviously it's a callback to John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, the original creators of the first film. They've also got 2 kids, and one of them called Karen has a son called Dana, and she's just moved back in because, you know, she's young and she's got a son, so she's trying to get you know, help from her family. And this just proves even more that John's a dickhead, because he slaps Karen after like her mum gives her some money. He's like, why don't you just give her all the goddamn money? And then she calls him a bastard, so he slaps her. And then Danny, his son, has a knife on him, and they realise, like, what? And it's just the most, like, Danny's being built up to being a new Michael, basically. So skipping ahead a bit, Tommy finds the baby inside the bus stop and he takes it to meet up with Loomis. And then, you know, they just, I'm not going to go over the whole plot of the film, really, because, you know, it's supposed to be my thoughts, right? But one of the sick kills we get later on inside the film, Deborah gets killed by Michael inside the front yard with an axe. And it's such a good visual, man. Holy shit, Michael's just standing there with the axe. And he just swings and all the blood just goes over the blankets, and that's it. It's brutal and effective, and it's simple, and it gets the job done, no doubt. So then we get the backstory. This is where people, you know, like, I can understand, like, not wanting to know what happened to Michael and, like, what makes him kill. But I prefer this over Rob Zombie's approach of just, you know, oh, he got abused as a kid and bullied. Like, people don't get bullied. But in this one, we get Paul Rudd, Tommy's character, explaining to us Fawn. The symbol is a demon that brings death. So one child of each tribe was sacrificed to keep the rest of the family safe. And the Fawn stars, the symbols appear on Halloween, which is when Michael appears. Which, you know, it gives reason, but I'd rather have no reason at all, obviously. But I don't really mind the cult type thing, because it makes sense in a way, because the amount of times we see Michael die and all this stuff. But let me know what you think inside the comments. Do you like this explanation of Michael's backstory or not? Like I said, it's much better than Rob Zombie's, though, no doubt about it. And that's like me point I was explaining before, the Daniel Farrens, the guy who wrote this, he had to explain all that shit from number 5, what just got thrown in there for no reason, like the Man in Black, the Curse of Fawn tattoo. So I think he did a decent job of wrapping it up. And here's the point, what, like, I understand, like, you know, you're trying to write stuff to link into the other films, but where Tommy lives, there's this old lady who lives there. And then eventually, like, she's talking to Danny and she's like, oh yeah, I was babysitting Michael Myers on the night that he killed his sister. And it's like, where the fuck were you then? Because the original film, he starts outside and he slowly walks around the house. I don't remember seeing a babysitter. Where were you? You getting milk or something from the shop? Because you definitely weren't there. Now we get to one of the best kills inside the franchise. John, the dickhead, like I said, he gets electrocuted downstairs by Michael until eventually his head just explodes, man. One of the best kills inside the franchise, no doubt about it. And inside the producer's cut, they sort of tame this down. This is one of the positives of this theatrical cut. The head explosion of John Strode is fucking amazing. I love it. So then further on, we get another scene what mirrors the original. Karen's inside the house fighting Michael, and then Loomis is arriving, and you've got the original score going as well. And we've even got him running across the street, banging on the door to try and get let in, just like Laurie did in the original with Tommy. So it does mirror the original quite a lot, which is really good. I do like it, man. Another good kill is Karen's brother, who gets his throat slit inside the mirror by Michael. It's just a cool visual. He's just standing there, he just slowly does it. It's pretty sick. And then, of course, we get the twist. The old woman's revealed to be a part of the cult of Fawn. And the big twist win, like we were talking about before from the original. He's the leader of the cult of Fawn. And he's been looking after Michael all these years. So there's the big twist. that Michael, you know, all these people have been around him this whole time. He probably helped him learn how to drive as well in the first one. So the final act takes place in Smith's Grove. Michael goes on a killing rampage and just kills all the doctors with these strobe lights, man. It's a badass scene. You don't get it inside the producer's cut. You don't get it inside this cut, and it's just sick. Like, lights going everywhere. Michael just going on a rampage. He must kill like 8 or 9 people. And then, of course, we get to the final. Michael gets killed with a pipe. Like, Paul Rudd is just beating the shit out of him with his pipe, and then green blood's all coming out of the mask. And you're like, what the fuck? But you've actually seen the producer's cut. It's even worse, because inside the producer's cut, they get little ruins, little stones. They put them around Michael, and that stops him. He just stops in place like that. So that's a lot worse death. Like, at least this one, it's a little bit brutal, even though we got green blood. I guess it's from the injections that Tommy gives him. But yeah, just like I said before, this is the final film with Donald Pleasance as well. So you get a little somber moment outside, and they're like, come with us. And he's like, no, I've still got business to attend to. And he goes back in. We don't see it. And we just hear him scream. And we see the Michael Myers mask on the floor. No body. And then that's the end. And this is unfortunately the final film with Donald Pleasance. So no more Loomis after this. Loomis is really a high point of this series. No doubt about it, man. And the rest of the sequels and films are going to suffer because Loomis is not in them. But yeah, overall, this has been my thoughts for Halloween 6. I'm going to give this film 8.5, man. It's nostalgia for me because I grew up on this film watching it with my brother. Like, it's one of our favourites. And obviously I got the tattoo. Now, of course, the producer's cut, there's some bullshit things in there, like the baby being Michael and Jamie's baby. That's just stupid completely. I'm not fucking defending that, no doubt. But like I said at the beginning, if you take both cuts and you combine them, you take the shit out and you just keep the good, I think there's a really good film in there, no doubt about it. So let me know your thoughts and opinions about Halloween 6 inside the comments down below. Next week, we'll be reviewing H2O, which is going to be interesting because, you know, H2O and then Halloween 2018, they're sort of similar inside the storyline telling and all that. But yeah, click like and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. More horror videos coming inside the future. Stay safe. Thanks for watching. In a bit.